10 MMA fighters who got seriously hurt, Part 3. 10 MMA fighters who got seriously hurt, Part 3. Are you a brave person? Because what you are about to see is really intense. These fights are not for the faint of heart. If the sight of blood disturbs you, these fights are not for you. For the rest of you, please bear witness to the 5 most horrific, most terrifyingly nightmarish, sadistic beatings you will ever see in your entire life. Unless you're lucky, that is. So welcome back. All of these questions will be addressed in today's video. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Number 10, Mark Hunt versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva. We're unsure if we ever saw two 265-pound-plus giants blasting each other for 25 minutes like Mark Hunt and Antonio Silva did at UFC 193. The bout will go down in the history books as one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. Although Silva's a tough guy, we didn't expect him to absorb all of Hunt's bombs. I mean, while others would usually fall after the first one, Silva was eating the shots like cupcakes. Both fighters were close to finishing the fight, and even flyweight fighters would be jealous of their cardio. Although both fighters were bleeding a lot, the medical staff kept the action going. The bloodthirsty fans couldn't ask for more. 9. Rory MacDonald versus Robbie Lawler, UFC 189. What took place that night in Vegas will always be remembered as one of the bloodiest MMA fights of all time, and likely the most entertaining one as well. The fact that this welterweight title fight received the Fight of the Year award for 2015 just adds to this point. While Lawler is a brawl veteran with many wars on his record, the Canadian phenom takes a more methodical approach. That said, we'll never know what forced MacDonald to accept a blow-for-blow type of fight against the champion. Though he is perhaps still questioning this decision, fans around the world simply loved every second of this bloody war. 8. Jeremy Stephens versus Estevan Pion, UFC 160. As said by the UFC color commentator Joe Rogan during the live commentary, this is not the fight you want to show your girlfriend while talking to her to start watching MMA. Jeremy Stephens is a wild power puncher who can get a knockout from almost every position. At UFC 160, he met the promotional newcomer Estevan Pion. Right from the start, Stephens greeted Pion into the promotion by connecting with a vicious elbow that opened a bad cut on Pion's forehead. However, the worst was yet to come. In the second, Stephens advanced to the mat and started exploding with his ground-and-pound skill set. After the barrage of vicious elbows, Pion was suffocating in his own blood. To his credit, he fought until the end, losing probably 2 liters of blood in the process. 7. Hieron versus Jonathan Goulet, UFC Fight Night 2. The fight between 2 upcoming talents working their way through the Ultimate Fighter is perhaps the bloodiest bout in the history of the show. In the first round, Hieron put on a show by demonstrating a strong wrestling game. However, it would take only 1 knee to the skull from Goulet to open a massive cut in the second. While being on top and landing punches, Hieron was bleeding like a fountain. With the blood all over the octagon, many of us thought the medic would stop the fight. But, by everyone's surprise, the action continued. Goulet landed 1 more knee to the opening minute of the third, convincing the referee to stop the fight. 6. Penn versus Joe Stevenson, UFC 80. Watching his recent downfall, one can create a wrong perception of how talented and good Penn was. To this day, the fight against Joe Stevenson at UFC 80 stands for one of his finest performances. Right from the start, Penn began dominating the fight. With less than a minute left in the opening round, he landed a nasty elbow that opened up Stevenson's brow. The amount of blood gashing out literally blinded the American. The cut man's hands were full between the rounds, but Stevenson was back for some more. However, Penn knocked him down once again and went on to finish the job with the submission. The most iconic moment was watching Penn squeezing the neck while blood was spilling from Stevenson's forehead. 5. Stefan Struve versus Dennis Stoynik, UFC 99. Standing 7 feet tall, Stefan Struve is perhaps the tallest UFC fighter of all time. Throughout his career, he enjoyed great height and reach advantage, but always had a hard time defending the takedowns, and this almost proved lethal in his fight against Stoynik at UFC 99. Stoynik scored an opening takedown and spent most of the round controlling Struve on the bottom. In the closing minute of the round, a hard hammer fist opened a big cut on Struve's bald skull. The Dutchman would survive the first round, but Stoynik would continue where he started in the second. With the blood pouring from his head, things became urgent for the skyscraper. Fortunately for him, he was able to reverse the position and pull the Hail Mary submission. The scenes of Struve squeezing the choke while the blood is showering out of his skull will forever glaze the list of bloodiest MMA fights. 4. Jim Miller vs. Joe Lauzon, UFC 115. Miller and Lauzon are arguably the toughest fighters the UFC fans have ever seen perform. With 15 post-fight bonuses on his record, Lauzon's one of the most exciting as well. At UFC 155, the fans quickly got what they asked for, with both fighters throwing their defense out the window, biting their mouthpieces, and exploding in the pocket. Shortly in the first round, Miller connected with a big knee and elbow behind. This instantly opened 2 big cuts on Lauzon's forehead. The following scenes were not for the ones with a sensitive stomach. Lauzon spent the rest of the round on his back with the blood in his eyes, mouth, and nose. Between the rounds, the doctor gave a green light for Lauzon to continue. Shortly after, Miller received a cut under his eye, and the fight became a pure bloodbath. The memorable war ended in a decision for Miller, but they have both won the fans' hearts. 3. Cain Velasquez vs. Antonio Silva, UFC 160. After Velasquez lost his heavyweight belt to Junior Dos Santos, he desperately needed a fight that would lurch him back into the mix. But standing in his way at UFC 160 was the Brazilian Antonio Silva. The fight will go down in history as one of the most one-sided maulings in history. As expected, Velasquez scored an early takedown and started exploding with the relentless ground and pound shots. With heavy elbows landing, Silva's face quickly got covered in plasma. The doctor checked the cut and somehow allowed Silva to continue. Further, Cain continued to target the cuts, which caused the blood to spray even more. As a result, the referee stopped the fight shortly after. With the blood all over the place, it looked like Velasquez was leaving a crime scene. 2. Renato Sobral vs. David Heath, UFC 74. The bout between Sobral and Heath is surely one of the bloodiest MMA fights in history. In the build-up, both fighters showed huge animosity towards each other, and we've expected nothing but fireworks. The opening round passes without any specific action. However, the second round saw both fighters pulling triggers from all weapons. Sobral opened a serious cut on Heath's head after landing some vicious ground and pound shots. As the blood was pouring, he went on to target the same spot over again. I mean, it was painful to watch. It may sound bizarre, but it looked like Sobral had a knife in his hand. It was that bloody. Ultimately, Sobral placed the Anaconda choke and submitted Heath in the second round. Shortly after, Sobral would get cut from the UFC for holding the submission after the referee stopped the fight. 1. Edwin Dewees vs. Gideon Ray, Tough 4, the comeback. Ultimate Fighter has always represented a proving ground for many upcoming talents, so slugfests and bloodbaths are very common. In Tough Season 4, it seemed like we had a bloodthirsty psycho sitting beside the cage instead of medical staff. Although fighters were playing it safe in the first, the violence would escalate in the second. Dewees advanced to the mat and started punishing Ray with nice short elbows. This opened up a cut on Ray's forehead and the blood came out spraying. The doctor came in, but apparently this wasn't enough to satisfy his thirst. Although the Ultimate Fighter bouts were set for 2 rounds each, the judges declared a draw and the two had to fight 1 extra round. Dewees continued where he started in the second, smashing and targeting the cuts on Ray's head. The most fascinating thing was seeing Ray stopping the blood from spraying with one hand while fighting back with the other. So, this was all about this video. I hope you liked the information given in the video. If you have anything on your mind, feel free to comment below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to get more videos like this. Also, hit the bell icon to get the notification of the latest updates on the channel. And thanks for watching!